respected elder brothers and sisters, and then younger brothers and sisters, I am extremely happy and feel great honor, opportunity meeting with young people, students. Usually when I give talk, I stand, I prefer stand. But now, getting older, say I prefer now why talk from chair, like that. Because I getting older, and also you see, now quite so often when I reflect a generation, my generation, in 40s, 50s, 1940, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, many of them already disappear, gone. So I belong to that generation. Usually I describe generation of 20th century. So when I feel now most of my friends, including my parent and my beloved, my teacher, I only name. Then when I meet these young brothers, sisters, then I also feel I'm now mixing with you. I feel I'm a bit younger. So now you are generation of 21st century. 21st century, now more than 1 decade passed, but remaining, let's say, 8 decades yet to come. So, generation of 21st century. Now you have the opportunity to create better world, and you will enjoy that more peaceful, compassionate world. We, the generation of 21st century to 20th century, may not see that. So our real hope is on you. Please think more from wider perspective, not just your own circle. Look, firstly, now world become much smaller because of technology, because of global economy. And on top of that, the global warming. Now time comes, we have to think just one world. In ancient time, more emphasis, my nation, my country, then within the nation, my area, then finally, my family, then ultimately, just one self. Now time comes, each individual, we are part of 7 billion human beings. If 7 billion human beings peaceful, harmony, then each of us, because we are part of the 7 billion human beings, each of us get maximum benefit. So even from the selfish viewpoint, according to this reality, we have to think well-being of other, then you get maximum benefit. Ancient time, okay, doesn't matter, your own area, because small population, more or less self-sufficient. Now today, world heavily interdependent. So therefore, the universal value, think more seriously about global level. That actually, thinking that, you really get more enthusiasm, more optimism, just a selfish thinking. Then, because too much self-centered attitude, then automatically develop more anxiety, more stress. And that brings some irritation. That brings distrust. That eventually brings violence. We are social animal. We need friend. Even animal, they have certain limited altruism because basic nature is more social animal. So we also, human being, social animal, we need very much friendship. When you surrounded by friends, you feel happy, safe. When you surrounded by people, maybe very rich, very powerful, but lack of human warm feeling. Although you may receive some smile, but there are different kinds of smile. You see, smile, even animal appreciate. That's genuine smile. A dog, cat, when you show them smile, sincere smile, they appreciate, isn't it? Artificial smile, they don't like. So we human beings, certainly, artificial smile sometimes develop more suspicion, isn't it? So, you see, people who surround you showing genuine human smile, that come if you really have sincere feeling, they are part of you. They are human brothers, sisters. You see, my future depends on them. Then take care their well-being. That brings genuine friendship. So therefore, now time come, we have to think oneness of 7 billion human beings. I always consider myself as a one human being of 7 billion human beings. I never consider I'm something. Firstly, when I met people, I do not consider I am Tibetan from something different, with something different culture or different geography. And then, furthermore, I do not consider I am Buddhist. And then particularly, I never consider I am His Holiness, Dalai Lama. If I sort of consider importance of Dalai Lama. Then, out of 7 billion human beings, only one Dalai Lama. So I feel lonely. If you see Dalai Lama not celibate, Dalai Lama, Mrs. Dalai Lama, then I may find another sort of person. But celibate, then I too much emphasis, I am Dalai Lama. Then really lonely feeling. When I think I am one of the 7 billion human beings, wherever I go, meet people, I always feel I am one of them. That's my own experience. You see, no differences what sort of nationality, what color. In this country, I think unfortunately, caste system. This is outdated. We must emphasize oneness of we human being and oneness of Indian. Very important. So there is plenty of reason. 7 billion human beings, mentally, emotionally, physically, we are same. And then furthermore, if we too much emphasis on secondary level of differences, then look today. Besides nature suffering from nature disaster, including earthquake or flood, or like that, a lot of problem. Actually, our own creation. Really very sad when we look television, news. I think each day, few thousand people killing, and dying due to starvation. Particularly those young child. Unthinkable. These are same human brothers, sisters. And particularly these are very, very innocent people who carry gun. There may be some superficial level, some reason to oppose them or to sort of say, destroy them. But then, look, now Yemen, children. When I look, picture some of these children, very thin. And they are human brothers, sisters. They are sort of suffering, starvation, due to concerned people's discrimination, lack of oneness of this, the sense of oneness of human being, human brothers, sisters. Now these days, when I wake up in the morning, usually about 3:30, I wake up. But I never sort of, sacrifice my sleep, 9 hours sleep. About 6, I went to sleep. Then morning, 3:30, wake up. Often I feel, I enjoy 9 hours sleep. During that 9 hours, how many people killed? How many children? Death by starvation. That's today's world. We are here, enjoy peace, tranquility. But same planet, same human being, a lot of suffering created by human themselves. What is that now? Now, according some scientists, basic human nature is more compassionate. there's a sufficient reason. More compassionate mind here. Your physical better. And particularly young ladies who have beautiful face, but angry face, no longer any beauty. Isn't it? So, usually some ladies spend a lot of money from the family, is in making beautiful face or something, an ornament or something. But real beauty is inner beauty, not external beauty. Only external beauty, you marry, then within few weeks, quarrel start. And then eventually, divorce. Sometimes when I received some sort of request for blessing for marriage, and I also feel, now preparation for divorce. All these, you see, on the superficial level, more attraction. So develop attachment or sexual feeling, but without knowing the deeper level of inner beauty. Then marriage will not be successful, long-lasting marriage. Many years ago in San Francisco, one Christian preacher who helping marriage or these things, with just a casual talk. And he told me he usually asks couple who want to marry, and he usually advises them, no hurry, no hurry. Let you know each other deeper level. Once you develop full knowledge about the deeper level of nature of that person and develop respect, then marry. He usually advising to people. So he told me like that. That's quite true. So therefore, the inner beauty is very essential. Now, entire 7 billion human beings, from birth, we survived with mother's tremendous love, affection. Without that, we can't survive. That's our common experience. Then, the rest of our life, surrounded by people who really show you loving kindness. Because of loving kindness, then you feel happy. Physically, much healthier. So some scientists say, constant anger, constant fear, actually eating our immune system. So according to our common experience, from our birth and common sense, I think you know, you see your neighbor or even your classmates, students, usually you see showing you genuine smile like that. And then you feel much sort of enthusiasm, much happier. Attend class, now I'm going to see that my friend. In the case, in the classroom, you see the student, each other, too much competitive feeling, and a little bit sort of negative attitude. Then, when class start, you feel more sort of worry like that. So even teacher not only teach you the subject, but show you genuine human feeling. Then, I say, you are very happy to attend that class. If teacher may be knowledgeable, but showing you, look down, without sort of the human feeling, then you feel uncomfortable. I myself also, when I receive teaching from my teacher with smile, and that teaching goes deep in my mind. Occasionally, my teacher showing a little bit angry face, then I feel uncomfortable, like that. Although when I was young, like you, I'm quite lazy student. I think the laziness among the students, I think not sort of unique in my case. I think many of you also have that kind of feeling, isn't it? Like that. So, according to our common experience, common sense, then scientific sort of finding, more compassionate mind is key factor for happiness, for joyfulness. Okay. So now that sense of universal, sense of concern for universal human being, that is the genuine altruism. Other animal, because lack of intelligence, they cannot develop that kind of infinite love. We human beings, because of this brain, we have the ability to develop infinite love. So now, I have some critical view about the existing modern education system. I think modern education comes from West. So, and historically, you see the technology, science, these things start from West. So at that time, I think around 200 years ago, the science, technology, these gradually develop. Then the existing education sort of center traditionally, that is this monastery or nunnery is the education center. They carry the responsibility about education. Now gradually new subject now come. So separate education institution started. So naturally, moral ethics carried by religious institution. The newly developed science, these newly developed existing, separate education institution. So now modern education very much oriented about material value. Now today, I think all those developed country, materially highly developed, and education according to that also is a highly developed. But if we look more deeper level, these highly developed materially community, a lot of moral crisis, a lot of worry inside, lack of moral crisis, moral principle. And only think money, power. So, therefore, you see those poor people always suffer. Really, very sad. And even religious faith now using for conflict. Unthinkable. All major religious tradition carry message of love, forgiveness, tolerance, self-discipline. But you see too much emotion here and concept of we and they. Ultimately, too much self-centered attitude, short-sighted. Then religion also causing more division and more killing. Very unfortunate. So now, since the existing modern education is not adequate to bring more happy community, And happy community, happiness very much depends on loving kindness. So therefore, we really need education, including education about our inner value. A more holistic education, not just material value, but inner value, inner peace. In this respect, I'm fully convinced as a student of Nalanda tradition. See, as I mentioned earlier, when I study with great reluctance, laziness, gradually I realized those things which I learned is now really immense help. Firstly, keep my emotion more, destructive emotion more neutralize. I have the ability to neutralize destructive emotion, or constructive emotion can increase. Because ancient Indian psychology, wonderful. Then the way, you see, to transform our emotion, not through prayer, not through faith, but through reasoning. So ancient Indian Pramana, logic, extremely good. Therefore, now I have sort of last over 30 years, I have serious discussion with modern scientists because we emphasize on reason and experiment, not faith. So, as a student of this Nalanda master, I now realize, this ancient Indian knowledge is really very helpful. You see, to develop happy individual, happy family, happy community, finally, happy humanity. So therefore, my number one commitment is try to promote peaceful world through inner peace and mainly sense of oneness of human being and sense of concern of well-being of other. That is the key factor for peace, for happy humanity. And then second, my commitment is try to promotion of religious harmony. Now you young sisters, you see, you recite prayer for different tradition. Wonderful. India is the living example where all major world religious traditions live together. You see, beside homegrown religion, firstly, Sangha philosophy, very sophisticated philosophy. I think over more than 3,000 years. I think the rest of the world, then I think not much. This country, over 3,000 years, Sangha philosophy developed. Wonderful. Then Jainism, then Buddhism, and then later Sikhism. These are homegrown major religious tradition. And then later, this country received as a refugee from ancient Parsi. So, Zoroastrian tradition, now in Bombay. Very few community, less than 100,000, but no fear, completely safe. Among millions of Hindus, millions of Muslims, Christians, but handful of the Parsis, very happy. So that's India. So then, gradually, you see Christianity and Judaism and Islam, all you see settle this country. Occasionally, some problem. That's understandable. I usually see telling all over billion human beings are not something unusual. These also have emotion. So some mischievous people, possible. Out of 1 billion human beings, some mischievous people should be there. So some problem here and there. But overall picture of India religious harmony is really unique. Can be living example to rest of the world. Different religious traditions can live together harmoniously. Mutual respect, mutual learning. So now, since this country, I think intellectual level, I think among Egyptian civilization, Chinese civilization, and also Indus Valley civilization, and finally Indian civilization. I think Indian civilization, produced most thinkers on this planet. So therefore, India traditionally have great potential. You see, the contribution for humanity through brain, because of intelligence, not just the faith. So therefore, now modern India, now one of my commitment is, since I realize the ancient Indian knowledge about emotion and how to tackle emotion, there's something irrespective whether believer or non-believer, believe this religion or that religion, this India's tradition is very, very relevant to today's world. In order to make some significant contribution for rest of the world, firstly, these ancient Indian knowledge must revive within this country. So, I think modern Indian, too much, because of absorbed modern education or technology, these things, neglect about ancient your knowledge. So, and a few years ago, in Delhi, one international Hindu conference took place. So I also, you see, they invited me. So I told that meeting, I told them, oh, India, you see, those spiritual leaders, now time comes, should pay more attention for study. Not sufficient just to carry some rituals or some pujas. Must pay more attention about ancient Indian knowledge, including logic. That's very, very important. So therefore, in order to make significant contribution for 7 billion human beings, firstly, those ancient Indian knowledge must revive within the country. So I'm, not only me, about around 10,000 monk students and few thousand non-students. They study as I study. So these, I think, I feel, can make certain contribution regarding revival of ancient Indian knowledge. So this I want to share you. Modern education, modern technology alone, no guarantee to bring inner peace. Because destroyer of inner peace is not weapon, but our destructive emotions, such as anger, suspicion, these things. So these will not disappear through prayer. Only through training of our mind. Then, I think, the Sankhya philosophy, there are two groups. One believe creator, one believe not believe creator. Then Jainism, no concept of believer, no concept of creator. Then Buddhist also, you see, no concept of creator. So logically, since these major religious tradition emphasis on oneself, not God or Buddha. So naturally, since you see one's own future entirely depends on oneself, so automatically relevant training of mind. So Indian tradition, shamatha, practice of shamatha, practice of vipassana, there. Because, you see, these religion emphasize responsibility on yourself, not God. So therefore, now these are training of mind. Now today's work, already in some non-Buddhist country, Judo-Christian country, including scientists, now really showing interest about ancient Indian knowledge about mind or emotion, how to tackle emotion, these things, and including some kind of meditation and including some yoga practice like that. So these are, now when I discuss with modern scientists about sort of emotion, about psychology, then sometimes I publicly sort of express, when I discuss with the modern psychology from the West, I really feel, oh, their knowledge about mind, about emotion, compare ancient Indian sort of knowledge about mind or emotion, then Western modern psychology looks like kindergarten level. Indian psychology highly developed. So now these things, we should not consider these things are part of religion. No, these things should consider academic subject. So Indian education field now should include more knowledge about emotion, about mind. I usually used to describe, we in sort of education field, we also include hygiene of physical. Now, why not should include hygiene of emotion? That's very important. So those traditions, emphasis on faith, not relevant, the training of emotion, not much relevant, just faith. In this country, the major three religious tradition emphasis self-creation. Then these things become very relevant. So now these, you see, should include in modern education, in India's modern education field. This is my view. So I totally, now 82-year-old, I don't know how long I remain, maybe 10, 15 years. So rest of my life, I now totally committed to serve for revival of ancient Indian knowledge, including few thousand, you see, scholars now here. A few years ago, you see, I suggest to them, some of them should study English and Hindi and the Malayalam, like that, because it's in South India. So I really feel, you see, now time come. These knowledge, which actually come from India. We are chela of ancient Indian guru. So I usually is telling, we are not only chela, but also reliable chela. Over almost 1,000 years, while Guru's own land, a lot of things happen about Indian culture, Indian philosophy, these things, too much ups and downs. While Guru's own land, these things happen. In Tibet, we, as a chela, we kept all this knowledge. Therefore, it is sufficient reason to claim we are reliable chela. Now, in a way, the ancient time, you are guru, we are chela. Now modern time, it seems Chela become Guru, Guru become Chela. So in any way, this is very serious. Now existing modern education, because of that, materialistic life, materialistic culture, through that, there is no room of moral ethics. So, a lot of man-made problems now we are facing. Just pray to God, to Buddha, not answer. We must, through action, we must change these things. In order to carry realistic action, we need a vision. So, India, future of India, I think great. So, please now think more seriously this matter. So, young Indian eventually can make significant contribution for better world, compassionate world. So, that's my talk.